A lot of immigrants in the United States are working hard, building your lives from scratch and trying to do the right thing financially. And one of the most common questions I get is this: can immigrants name beneficiaries outside the United States? The short answer is yes. In most cases, you can. But the real answer is yes, you can, as long as you do it correctly. Because this is one of those topics that sounds simple on paper, but when a death happens, the process can become slow, confusing, and emotionally messy for families, especially when the beneficiaries live in another country. The first thing to understand is that most life insurance companies and many financial institutions do not require your beneficiary to live in the United States. Your beneficiary can be your mother, father, spouse, sibling, or child living in Nigeria, Ghana, Jamaica, Mexico, India, Pakistan, Philippines, anywhere else. This applies to many life insurance policies and sometimes to retirement accounts as well. The issue is not usually whether it's allowed. The issue is what happens after you pass away and your family has to prove who they are, submit documents, and receive the funds. One of the biggest problems that comes up is identity verification. If your beneficiary is outside the United States, they may not have a social security number, they may not have US identification, and they may not have a US bank account. Some companies can still pay them, but they may require extra documents. And those documents might need to be notarized, certified, or translated. This is why planning matters. You don't want your family trying to figure out international paperwork while they are grieving, do you? I'll give you a quick story that shows how small mistakes create big delays. I once spoke to someone who named his mother overseas as the beneficiary, which is a great intention, but he listed her name the way he calls her, not the way it appears on her passport. He used a nickname and left out part of her legal name. When a claim happened, the company didn't deny it, but they paused it. They needed proof that the person listed was the same person on the official documents. That delay turned into months, and during those months, the family started arguing because some relatives assumed something shady was going on. The truth was simple: the paperwork didn't match. This is why the first rule is always list the beneficiary's name exactly as it appears on your legal ID, not a nickname and not the name you grew up calling them. Another major issue is payment logistics. Even if the claim is approved, the company still needs a method to pay your beneficiary. Some carriers can send international wires, some cannot, some will only send checks, and some may require the beneficiary to open a US bank account. In rare cases, a company may require the beneficiary to come in person. Immigrants often assume the money will automatically get wired overseas, but that's not always how it works. This is why it's smart to think through the payout process ahead of time while you are alive and can set things up properly. This leads to a strategy question that a lot of people don't want to talk about. Should you name someone in the United States as the beneficiary, or should you name your family overseas directly? There is no one answer for everyone, but there are trade-offs. If you name someone in the United States, it can be easier for the insurance company to verify identity and pay quickly, but it also requires trust because the money legally belongs to the beneficiary once it's paid. If you name someone overseas, it may align more directly to your intention, but the claim process can be slower and may require more documentation. Here's another story that shows why communication matters. I spoke with a family where a man passed away and named his brother overseas as the beneficiary. His wife in the US assumed she would receive the money because she was his wife. She had no idea he named his brother. When the insurance company paid the brother, it created a major family war. The wife was shocked and felt betrayed, obviously. The brother overseas didn't want to release the money because he believed it was his right. There you go. The children were caught in the middle. The policy did exactly what the paperwork said, but emotionally, the situation exploded. This is why beneficiary planning is not just paperwork. It is a family decision. If you are married, you should be clear about who is receiving what and why. Another major misconception immigrants have is believing that a will overrides everything. In many cases, it does not. Life insurance is contract law. Retirement accounts are contract law. If your policy has a beneficiary form, that beneficiary form usually overrides the will. So you can have a will that says everything goes to your spouse, but if your life insurance policy lists your mother as the beneficiary, guess what? The money will go to your mother. This is why it's important to keep beneficiary designations updated as your life changes. Now, some immigrants also ask if your beneficiaries need a social security number. In many cases, no, but it depends on the company. A carrier may request a copy of a passport, proof of address, and additional claim forms. And depending on the type of account, taxes can become a factor. Life insurance death benefits are usually income tax free in the United States, which makes life insurance one of the cleanest tools for international beneficiary planning. But annuities and retirement accounts are different because those can involve taxable income, and special rules can apply if the beneficiary is not a U.S. person. Another thing immigrants don't always think about is naming minor children overseas. It sounds good emotionally, but legally it can become complicated. Minors usually cannot receive large sums directly. If you name a minor as your beneficiary, the company may require a legal guardian or court involvement to manage the money. That can create delays and can also create opportunities for the wrong person to control the funds. And in many cases, if you want to leave money to children, it may be smarter to name a trusted adult or consider a trust structure depending on your situation. Now, one of the biggest mistakes immigrants make is naming beneficiaries once and never updating them. People buy a policy in their 20s and name your mother, then they get married, then they have kids, then they buy a home, then they get divorced or remarried, and the beneficiary is still your mother, or worse, still an ex. When they die, the money goes where the paperwork says, not where your heart would want it to go today. The simplest advice I give is to review your beneficiaries once per year. Treat it like basic financial maintenance. It's not emotional, it's responsible. I want to share one more story because this one is very common and people don't realize it. A man had life insurance through work. He assumed his family knew. He passed away unexpectedly, and the family had no idea the policy existed. Nobody filed a claim. Years later, time went by. Eventually, the money became unclaimed property. Could the family recover it later? Sometimes yes. But the point is, the money did not show up magically. The family has to claim it. This is why you should keep your policy documents organized and tell at least one trusted person where the information is. So, if you are an immigrant and you want to name beneficiaries outside the US, here is what you should do. You want to make sure the names match official IDs exactly. You want to use full legal spelling and avoid nicknames. You want to list both primary and contingent beneficiaries. You want to keep your policy information organized and accessible. You also want to review beneficiaries annually. And if you have complex family dynamics, you may want to spill the percentages rather than choosing only one person. Some immigrants also worry that naming beneficiaries overseas could create immigration problems or legal issues. In most cases, it does not. Naming a beneficiary is not an immigration violation. It is simply designating who receives a benefit if you pass away. The insurance company cares about paying the correct person, not the immigration status. The real issue is always verification and paperwork, not immigration. The final point I want to make is the most important. Many immigrants are the financial backbone of their entire family. You are not just building your own family, you are building the future of your parents, your siblings, and sometimes even extended family. That is why this beneficiary question matters, because when something happens to you, your family should not have to guess. They should not have to fight. They should not have to struggle through international confusion. You can set it up correctly now in a short amount of time and protect the people you love for decades. So yes, immigrants can name beneficiaries outside the US, but do it with strategy, do it with clarity, and do it in a way that reduces friction for your family. If you want help reviewing your beneficiary structure or you want to make sure your policy is set up correctly, feel free to reach out. And if you found this video helpful, like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it, because I promise you, a lot of people need this information and they don't even know it yet.